The foreign policy stance of Marcos and Grispo, in my impression, is that it's much more liberal internationalist. Duterte and Mina would be pragmatic nationalists. Remember, I extrapolated so much from a handful of, from very few statements from these candidates. So this is the limitation of my analysis. In the left side of this plot, so you have the different normative basis of foreign policy making, right? So it's either they advocate the liberal stance, individualist political and economic values. The second one would be much more pragmatic, rejection of ideology. The third one is positivist legal. And then the question is, who is the intended beneficiary? It's either the nation is the reference of foreign policy implication, or a more extra-national stance. I would say that Rojas and Grispo would be a liberal internationalist. Of course, this is not in extreme form, but leaning towards that, I would argue. Pragmatic nationalism would possibly be Rodrigo Duterte and Judge Omar Binay, for example. Because, so for Rojas and Grispo, I realized that they have several statements in which they try to invoke leadership. So for example, Grispo invoking the leadership, Philippines to become a leader in the ASEAN, for example, advocating regional integration, advocating market economy-oriented solutions, for example, as well as Rojas. Pragmatic nationalism would be Duterte and Binay. To a large extent, Duterte is in the extreme form. It's much more pragmatic in a sense that he's anti-ideological, the way that I read him. Judge Omar Binay, for example, much more nationalist. And then the last one is Miriam Defensor Santiago. For her, the basis of foreign policy should be the legal space. And then the nation as the reference point. So I would call her Miriam Defensor Santiago as a positivist legal nationalist. It's difficult to differentiate these candidates when it comes to their stance on foreign policy, particularly in the South China Sea or West Philippine Sea issue, but I think you can just see what I put there. But I would say that in my reading, Rojas is liberal internationalist, but largely US-centered. Binay is pragmatic nationalist. O is liberal internationalist, possibly advocating, because there were several statements from O that she wants to advocate for the Philippines to play a much bigger role in the ASEAN. Duterte is pragmatic nationalist. Defensor Santiago is positivist legal nationalist, always invoking the law, but always always invoking the law, but also trying to emphasize national interests. In terms of foreign policy, I would say that Rojas would be a status quo leader, pro-US, probably a continuation of the current foreign policies of the Aquino administration. Binay could be, I'm using modal verb here, could be a wild card, I'm not so sure. O, status quo, possibly pro-US, possibly with some leanings towards stronger regional economic integration. Duterte could be a wild card. Unpredictable for me. Defensor Santiago is very clear for me. I think change advocate, much more nationalist when it comes to her foreign policy stand. Further reflection for me. It's important for us to also think about the possible roles of the Philippines when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to regional integration, when it comes to our place in the world, for example. And I think this is important. I know that there's a lot of severe problems within the nation state, but I also think that in my ideal world, and this is the normative part of me, I'd say that there's also a need for us to think about the possible end goals for, the possible end goal for the Philippines when it comes to how do we see the Philippines when it comes to interacting with other states, with other transnational actors. And I think that was largely missing in the way that we discuss, presidential elections. The second one is, just probably an insight that I'd like to share. I was thinking of a normative issue for Filipinos, thinking about a grand strategy. A grand strategy in the American thinking is a very conservative thinking. This was largely pioneered by, I would say, in the civilian institutions. For example, John Lewis Gaddis from the Yale History Department There's even a course at Yale on grand strategy. But I think most of the discourses that we hear here in the Philippines about foreign policy is just short-term thinking. And we don't normally say, or we don't normally think about, I would say, this is my impression, we don't normally think about the normative place of the Philippines in the broader world, and even possibly within the Southeast Asian region. And I think, hopefully I'm wrong, and possibly this is just a function of my limited analysis. But thanks so much for listening.